Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Well, hello and welcome to this week's Sunday Conversation right here on Big Country Politics. I'm Manny Diaz. This week, our special guest is Joshua Ohlemacher. He is a candidate, Republican candidate for House District 71 state representative. He is running for Stan Lambert's seat, who has decided not to seek re-election. Joshua, welcome to the program.
Hey, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Well, we've had you on Danny Sims' program, Abilene People, and it was a great conversation that you guys had, and tend to kind of reintroduce you to the political realm of folks here who are consume this program. So I know we want to talk policy. We want to talk some of the things. We'll get to that in a bit. But first and foremost, who is Joshua Ohlemacher to those who have no clue? I know you have some roots here, but for those who are still kind of getting to know you, who are you?
Yeah, so I'm one of the many people who ended up here through the Air Force. Not my service, but my dad's. He was 21, 22 years in the Air Force, and his second to last assignment was here, and it's what we all adopted as home. We went to San Antonio from here. From there, I moved to the Austin area. He retired from the Air Force and moved here, and then my wife and I followed shortly afterwards. And so we've been 10 and a half years back in Abilene. When we moved here, we had our first child and we're expecting our second. We have 6 now. And so we've definitely setting down roots and trying to, raise a family here in Abilene.
Wow. So I imagine you probably could have decided to live anywhere in the country, anywhere in Texas. What really what about Abilene spoke to you?
It's the people. I think that's the common answer you get from anybody who has been other places and lands here. I've seen it time and time again. My wife and I joke about it being like Abilene has this magnet that just draws people back in, that you go off somewhere else and then you go, man, there's nothing like the people in Abilene, and you come back.
Yeah, man. No, I hear you on that for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're running for this House District 71 seat. Stan Lambert's held on to this for quite some time. It felt like it was the Royal Rumble,
Sure.
Plenty of candidates throwing their names in the ring here. At this point, this recording, Jay Hardaway's kind of the only one who's really officially put his name in the hat. You intend to do so.
Yes, sir.
Tell me why run? I mean, imagine there's many other things you could have done, but why run for the seat?
Yeah, so politics is something I've always been interested in. It was something that I always thought was a retirement bucket list sort of interest, right? I want to learn how to fly a plane. I want to see what it's like playing in the political field a little bit. And last October, so a little bit over a year ago, our pastor did a short sermon series in Amos, and he was talking about the injustice that Amos was calling out in Israel at the time. And I attend the Well. We have a large college population, and he was really pushing on so many of these people that are at these inflection points in their lives and going, why don't you go be a part of something where you can make an impact, where you can, really have an effect on what it looks like to live the body of Christ out within society, not tucked away at a desk somewhere, but, in contact points. By the end of his sermon, he said, hey, would one of you run for office and give me somebody I want to vote for? And the room narrowed a little bit, and I got this feeling that I had typically only ever felt for unrepentant sin, forgiveness I'd been withholding, the sort of thing where you want to grab your pastor afterwards and go, hey, man, we could have had coffee. You don't have to call me out on stage like that. And there was 2 roadblocks that I put up in my head before I even left the building that day. One was that I am married and I'm raising 6 children here. My oldest is 11, my youngest is 3. We're pretty busy. The second one was, I'm very blessed. I can raise these 6 children. My wife stays at home. We homeschool our kids. But I don't have the sort of wealth to go to my boss and go, hey, I don't work here anymore. I'm going to go, be a politician instead. So I have to work full time. So that was the other part of it. And in a conversation with my wife about a week or 2 later, and then a week or 2 after that in a conversation with my boss, without telling them how I felt at all, they both told me they felt like I needed to get involved in politics. And so it felt like this unavoidable pull that I had to go do it. So the obedient thing was to go get involved. And I really didn't know what that looked like. In fact, the conversation with my boss ended with me in tears and telling her, I don't even know what that means. I don't know what I'm supposed to do.
What do you do, by the way?
I work at a HVAC, electrical and plumbing company. I do project management. We do a lot of work out on Dyess Air Force Base, elsewhere within Abilene and kind of the surrounding areas. And so she told me, well, I'll be supportive if you need the time, whatever, go figure it out. And so we did, you mentioned before we got on the air that this is kind of a big swing, right? To not be in politics and then get straight involved into a seat like this. But I believe in a big God, and I didn't want to let my insecurities about what I thought I could or couldn't do be a limiting factor for him. So it didn't make sense to me to go run for some seat that, Jody Arrington just announced that he's not running for reelection. That seems like a big ask. I don't really know anybody in Lubbock, right? Anything bigger than that,
Sure.
Wasn't there. But this is a race where, you're talking about Abilene and the communities around us where I know people, where I have friends, where I have family. And so why not? And so, yeah, we're stepping out in obedience and getting involved and going to run. And, yeah, there's the why.
Real quick, in about 30 seconds before we head to break, tell me, have you had any experience in the political realm prior to making this announcement?
Not other than just being so interested in since I was a kid. There is no real experience other than just, being 8 years old and on the couch and watching election results whenever all the other 8-year-old kids were going to bed and, trying to go to school the next day. So, but yeah, no official involvement.
Sure. Okay. Well, very good. Well, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, but when we come back, more with Joshua Ohlemacher, candidate for House District 71 State Representative. We're talking some of the issues he's passionate about and what he's bringing to the table heading into this primary. That and more after the break.
Welcome back to Big Country Politics on KTAB.
Welcome back to the Sunday Conversation. This week, our special guest, candidate for House District 71 Republican candidate, Joshua Ohlemacher. It's a House representative seat. This is your first go at politics. Tell me what issues, policy, what are you passionate about?
I am passionate about making sure that the government is modeled and is operating the way that it was founded. I think that that's a common complaint we see in DC. I think it's not as bad, but it's growing in that direction in Austin sometimes, where you get these folks who want to make a career out of it and want to be have that be the thing where they're making their name and where they're making their fortune. And if you look at the way that our country was founded, it was a volunteer basis system, and it was something that people did part-time. And it was something where the biggest government was closest to the people. And the further you got away from the people, the government had less say and constitutionally had very strict limits on the things they were allowed to do. And so that's my passion, is how do we go? The analogy I've been using is government should be stacked up like blocks, and they're out of order right now. And so my passion would be trying to be a part of the solution and restacking them the way they should be.
Sure. You mentioned, term limits in there, and, that's something that Jody Arrington really talked about in his in our chat last week, my chat last week with him. Do you believe in term limits? Is this something that you would like to see? If elected, would you make a push for something like that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think I respect Jody a lot for, in his statement, whenever he announced he wasn't running for reelection, one of the things he said was, this isn't supposed to be a career. And so I think term limits are one of those things that we shouldn't have to have, because we would hope that the people getting involved would treat it the same way Jody has. But we can see that's not the case. And so absolutely, I actually signed a pledge with a group this last week that I think the name of the group is U.S. Term Limits. I'll put something out on my social media here in the next couple of days, or I guess by the time this airs, it might already be there. Basically saying, like, yeah, let's use the power of the state government to try to push the federal government to do something like enacting term limits. I think that's one of those things that shouldn't be controversial, should be something that, regardless of what political, party you're a part of, or, the team that you root for, we should all want government to be done by people who are there for the right reasons.
Yeah. It seemed like Stan Lambert, he had the respect of a lot of different folks, certainly. I mean, he's a Republican, conservative guy, but he seemed like he had the respect of a lot of the Democrats around Abilene and the big country. But as you kind of look around and see what the body of work that he had, was there, and mind you, this is not, a means to trash him. I mean, I
Sure.
think, he's done what he could with what he could. But is there anything that you saw that, what, I think I could really help that. I can offer something different and I can do something better, perhaps.
Yeah. So, and in that case, and like you said, not to trash him, I think anybody who gets elected 5 times,
Absolutely. Yeah.
goes and serves, there's something admirable about that, even if you don't necessarily agree with all of his decisions that he made while he was in Austin. That being said, the drive to enter the race this time, right? To go back to the story we were talking about in the first segment, I had decided by the end of last year that this was the seat we would go after. But I'd also decided I would wait till Stan announced he was not running for reelection because I particularly liked him standing up on school choice in the 2024, or actually the 2023 legislative session, and then the crazy campaign that we had in 2024.
Hmm.
To see him go, hey, this is what the party seems to want, the governor seems to want, all these powers that be seem to want, but to say, no, this is not what's going to be best for my district, even if it meant he was going to get all this money spent against him in the primary, even if it, it definitely wasn't somebody just going along with what was going to be easy. And I respected that a lot. And part of the drive when I decided back in May to go for it this time around was after his vote to pass the school choice bill that passed in the 2025 session. And I understand he was trying to get concessions. He was trying to get, make that bill better. But it struck me as an odd thing to go from, I'm willing to lay my entire political life on this issue and then to jump to the other side on the other end of it. And I thought, man, and so if there is something that I would hope that I could do better is maybe not a policy by policy or decision by decision basis, but from that, that side of, if I say this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to stick to it, even if it means, we don't get anything else done. If it means that we get sent home afterwards,
Hmm.
I want to make sure that we're in there with a little bit of drive.
Sure. There's been politicians that have said, what, they are on one side of the aisle, and obviously their counterparts are on the other, and they say, what, I don't want to work with them. As conservatives or as Democrats, liberals, they have their own specific agendas. But in Austin, I mean, obviously Texas is very red and it's very
Sure.
conservative. I mean, where do you find yourself in that camp? I mean, do you find yourself either in that particular thing, or being or open to working with others and making sure that the best policy is passed in Texas, at least for District 71?
I think, yeah, good catch. I think the call should be what's best for Texas and what's best for District 71. I tend to believe that is more conservative policies, probably more of the stuff that the Republicans are pushing out. However, I also believe that there's some places in some cities where when they elect the representative and they elect the person they think represents them best, they're sending a Democrat to Austin. And so while I think that the Republicans should maintain control because they have elected a majority and they do have, a bit of a mandate there from a statewide consensus, I would want to make sure that we're not ever completely ignoring or completely shutting out voices from another side, because ultimately those are people who are also representing Texans, who are also hopefully trying to make decisions that are best for their district and the state as a whole.
Well, Joshua, appreciate your time today. Primary coming up in March.
March 3rd.
I'll give you 15 seconds here. Why should the voters take a chance on Joshua Ohlemacher?
I think they should take a chance on me because I don't mean to say this to disparage anybody else in this race, because I've met them all. I like them all. I think I'm the only person who is living, working, and raising a family in this district right now. And when it comes time to making decisions that we're all going to have to live under and we're going to have to continue to raise our families under, I think I'm going to have the closest experience to the average person in Abilene and the surrounding areas.
Yeah. Joshua Ohlemacher, I appreciate your time today. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you.
All righty. For Joshua Ohlemacher, Republican candidate for House District 71 State Representative, I'm Manny Diaz. This has been another Sunday Conversation right here on Big Country Politics. We'll see you next time. God bless.